Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. The New Orleans Pelicans embark on a 5-game road trip heading east and playing some so-called lesser teams with one exception. They're going to have to make some hay. 500 team coming off of a good win over Memphis. And, of course, the big news off the court where it appears a trade has been consummated, which will bring Quincy Pondexter back to New Orleans to the Pelicans, who originally played for the New Orleans Hornets. And Austin Rivers departs. And, Lenny, in my analysis of this, it's much ado about nothing to a degree, in the sense that you've got two guys that have barely made their mark in any sense of the word in this league.
Yeah, and one of those things that sometimes you never know when a change of scenery might be good. Apparently the Pelicans have had some interest in Pondexter up until now, and now they've got him back in the fold apparently, and we'll see if he can indeed break this rotation and make an impact on it at a key time. Like you mentioned, it's a 5-game road trip. Only one of the 5 teams has a winning record, although some of these teams, particularly Detroit, playing better of late. 3-2, I think, is a bare minimum on this trip. Ideally, you'd like to go 4-1. Like 5-0 would even be terrific. But realistically, I think 4-1 is the best case scenario for this trip. And in that case, you'd come back home 3 games over 500.
Yeah, and in good shape if, in fact, that happens. And Austin Rivers is a good kid, and he worked really hard. He just was a bit deficient. And as I said in my analysis, I think he's a classic tweener. I mean, he's a guy that he really isn't a pure point guard, never was, and he's not a pure shooting guard. He's not a real good shooter. So, he's a slasher who can't finish at the rim, typically speaking, in this league. So that's kind of the jack of all trades, master of nothing, as I said.
Yeah, that's pretty much nails it. He's not a true point guard. He's not a true 2 guard. He's a combo guard, and in some cases, you can find a place for that. In the right situation, this was not that right situation.
Interesting that he may end up playing for his father. That's what the word is, but obviously that is still to unveil itself, and we shall see. National championship game tonight, of course, Ohio State and Oregon. Just mind-boggling and head-scratching how a couple of Oregon players, including a prime receiver in Carrington, are ineligible for this game for marijuana use. And Lenny, I understand the changing times we live in, but rules are rules, and it's hard for me to comprehend that these guys would put something at risk like this and hurt their teams in the process.
Certainly, it's a societal thing to a certain degree, and it's. And are rules possibly going to get changed down the road? Perhaps, because the NCAA does have far and away, if you look at what the pro leagues have, and a lot of that is collectively bargained, but the NCAA has far and away the strictest rules when it comes to the amount of what is in your system to be considered a positive test for marijuana. But all in all, you're right. You're getting ready to lead up to a game. Now, obviously, we don't know when these tests took place. Did it happen a month ago? Did it happen a week ago? That's what we don't know in all of this. But in any case, it's going to hurt Oregon on the field. Even before that, I've just got a sneaking suspicion that the underdog Ohio State is bringing something tonight and may just win this football game.
I do too. I've really changed my stripes on that. I liked Oregon, and now I like Ohio State. I'm going with the Buckeyes. And as far as the NFL playoffs were concerned, speaking of rules, really the theme of the weekend was rules. The New England Patriots, and in using a rule to their benefit, which they clearly did legally, which helped them beat the Ravens, and of course the ruling regarding Des Bryant, catch or no catch. The ruling was correct on both fronts, but the rule with regard to the Dallas game, I don't know if it can be changed, but it's really a bad rule. The guy caught the ball. The guy takes a step or two. He tries to reach out and score a touchdown, and in the process of reaching out, loses control of the ball. Ground can't cause a fumble, right? I mean, my point is there really are some gray areas regarding these rules and possession, because this seems to happen all the time. Ground can't cause a fumble, but yet this is basically a fumble in the sense it's ruled incomplete.
Yeah, well, it is, and he did not. They're saying he didn't complete the catch to the ground, which we saw it with Calvin Johnson a few years ago. That was in the regular season.
He takes a step or two after he caught the ball.
Sure, it's based on the way it's a questionable rule. Based on the way the rule is written, the right call was made.
Absolutely.
Same thing with the New England game. Based on the way the rule is written, no call being made was the right thing. Did it put Baltimore at a disadvantage? Yes. The other one I would bring up is this, and I'll be interested to see. And this was, of all the things we saw this weekend, might have been the most remarkable thing. Not once but twice does Cam Chancellor hurdle over the line of scrimmage trying to block a field goal. Penalties twice. He didn't manage to time it right to be able to do it yet a third time. But I think there's some safety risk there. Not to mention the fact that they talk about not hitting the center in a field goal or punt situation, and he went right over where the center was. I could see that changing, maybe before the other two rules changing of the things we saw this weekend.
And the other subject matter surrounds Peyton Manning and his future. Has a year left on his deal. Will he exercise it? Will he gracefully walk away? That's really his call. And I guess the question here surrounds whether his play was a result of bad health or is it a result of simply deteriorating skills?
That's a great question, one that we won't know the answer to very quickly. I think it will take some time to see. He left the door open yesterday. Does he want to get ready to play another season? I don't think it's unlike what we saw in Brett Favre's later years. Hopefully Peyton does not take the route that Favre took and saying, I'm not coming back. You know what? I think I'm going to come back and play the waffle game or the flapjack game. Just keep changing his mind, so to speak. So let's see how this all plays out. But if that was his last game, you hate to see it end that way. But look, for the Newman grad and New Orleans native, I mean, the guy is, regardless of whether he plays another down, he's had a first ballot Hall of Fame career, and you can't take anything away from that, regardless again of what happened yesterday.
Everybody wants to focus on numbers, and you can do what you want with numbers. 9 first game exits in the playoffs. Well, you got to get to the playoffs first. A lot of guys don't get there, period. Won a Super Bowl, made it to another Super Bowl, unbelievable records. Great quarterback. Not the best ever, but one of the best ever.
Right, let's see. He's played 17 years in the league. You throw out the 1 year of injury, so that's 16 years. He's been to the playoffs 14 times. He's won a Super Bowl, and guess what? He got beat the other 13 times, but he got to the playoffs 14 out of 16 years. So that's pretty remarkable.
College basketball, really good win for Tulane. They saved one in overtime after nearly blowing one this past weekend. And LSU did just the opposite. They stole one in overtime, double overtime, after seemingly being buried in the first overtime against Georgia, which is big for them. It kind of helps save their SEC season early on.
It does. And, I mean, if you start 0-2, and there's a lot of hopes at LSU, and there's a lot of hopes for the future at LSU, but even this team, right now is right on the fence of being an NCAA tournament team. It's going to take probably an 11-5, or they play 18 games. Probably like a 12-6, maybe an 11-7 SEC season. You dig yourselves an 0-2 hole. That's hard to get to. And we'll see how it all plays out for Johnny Jones's crew. Is now they've got to head on the road to Ole Miss before coming home to play Texas A&M. Tulane goes on the road for 2 this week.
Much love to the Loyola women. They're 14-0. Ranked 7th in the latest NAIA national poll, likely to rise now. I saw them play Martin Methodist over the weekend, a 12-2 team, and beat them. This is a really good team. Let's not forget they were just a couple points away from the national semifinals a year ago.
Yep, got it going. One of 3 remaining unbeatens in the country. So, the alma mater doing well in women's basketball. Not so bad on the men's side either. So
no, not at all. And last but not least, a very successful 5th annual All-State Sugar Bowl National Prep Classic. And Montverde, Florida wins the event. The 2-time defending national champions whipping Riverside for the championship. Great crowds. Ben Simmons, well, he was pretty much all he was cracked up to be. You want to watch the championship game, go back and watch it at sportsnola.com. You can do so and see that amazing shot to end the third quarter, which basically broke Riverside's back.
It did. It was a terrific shot, and you guys called it. I mean, it was just one of those wow moments that you expect to see from somebody who's that good. And I mean, he had a lot of them over the course of 3 days of this tournament. But that is the one I think people will remember. I mean, it was a 6-point game about to go to the fourth quarter. That made it 9. And really, they just stretched it out from there. This was clearly the best of the 5 tournaments that we've seen thus far. Terrific atmosphere, great crowds, and a lot of that was there to see Ben Simmons.
Check it out at sportsnola.com. We'll be covering high school basketball and high school wrestling this week on the site, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, Sports Nola TV back at its normal time, 6 p.m. Monday night, WHNO Channel 20. And we'll break all the stuff we just talked about down.
Yep. probably much better than my analysis than you'll get from the Hall of Famer Ricky Jackson and Brian Alley Walsh and Amy Jones. They'll have much better analysis than what you just saw here, so tune in tonight.
He's modest. Thanks, Lenny. Have a great week.
All right, we'll see you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend. God bless.